Here we are, Tony and Nicki V, Saturday Night Live, talking all about intimate relationships. And tonight we have decided to create a whole new report on relationships called the 10 Things That Go Wrong in Intimate Relationships. And we are looking to get your help to do a bit of a checklist and go, yeah, do I do any of those things? You know, how does it all work for me? So yeah, as you come on, please pop your name in the box. Tell us where you are. Get the sound off, darling, or we're in big trouble.
I'm doing. Do a bit of
a checklist and go. Hit the button on your computer. There you go. Fantastic.
Technology being my friend, as always. I love it. Hello there. Good evening. I'm so excited to be here. Obviously already in our dressing gowns at 7 p.m. UK time.
Yes, it was a request from the wife. We've been out walking today and I took her too far.
Yes.
I took her too far.
We went too far.
We went on the long route and really she only wanted to do the short route. We get halfway round and then it's, will you walk home and get the car? Anyway, luckily we were saved by the beautiful wife of Natty James, who came to pick us up and take us home like two OAPs that we are. So anyway, look, tonight is exciting. So please do pop in the box who you are, where you're from, because we are covering
Julie Barker.
Come on,
I'm sure we've met her a few years ago.
She's a serious. I reckon she's. What do you call it when someone is following you?
Yeah, like a stalker.
A stalker, yeah, stalker Julie. Anyway, look.
No, but I stalk her. I'm always ringing her.
Oh, really?
She's my therapist.
She is like a stalk now. There's a joke there. Come on, you're supposed to laugh.
She is like a stalk.
Yeah.
Yes, that woman.
She's lost 27
Julie
stone
Barker.
in a week. And I'll tell you what, it is amazing.
Kind of nights,
it is amazing. Anyway, look, please, we are going to cover 8 amazing subjects and we need your help. So we want you to get typing tonight, yeah? So we are going to reveal the 10 things that make relationships go wrong because we're writing a report, a brand new report. And we have made a list of the 10 things that go wrong in intimate relationships. And we are going to walk you through them. And look, it's a bit of a checklist. Obviously got a great value in you to go, oh my God, I'm doing that one. I'm making that mistake. So obviously we could maybe also, look at what you could do to maybe get you out of that mistake if indeed you are making that mistake.
Oh
yes,
my God.
JB.
No,
it's not JB.
Royden. Please tell me if I am pronouncing your name. Hello from Norway. Just stopping by. Quick, wishing you a wonderful weekend. Met you in 2012 when I was in Glastonbury. Why am I saying Glastonbury?
You're sounding posh. You're sounding posh.
Glastonbury.
Look, we've had the Queen on, so we're talking like her now.
Stop it.
Bless her. Bless her today.
Well, with a lot of other people from around the world.
Oh, come on.
I do remember loads.
I think that might have been a day where, if I'm not wrong, I mean, look, it's 2000 and something, a long time ago, should we call it? I remember taking a photograph of some people, and there were some Norwegians, and we have a picture, and maybe it's you are in that picture of about a dozen people outside
of the Archangel Michael
Centre,
Healing Centre.
Yes,
with Tony with the long hair.
Yeah, indeed. Well, welcome and thank you for dropping by. Really appreciated. So, look, as I say, we're looking for your help tonight to help us create this unbelievable new relationship report, which we're going to get out to the big wide world, called The 10 Things That Go Wrong in a Relationship. So, let's get started, Nicki B. Type in the number one. Well, we haven't got them in a particular order. We have actually going. Yeah, we've talked about an order as well. But
okay, I'm typing it in.
Well, you could have copied and pasted it, love. Technology.
But I was a bit
there
concerned.
to be done. Use it.
Copy that if I copied and paste, something could go horribly wrong.
Okay.
So I'm just.
How could anything go wrong with copy and paste? But anyway, look, it is the oldest function possible on a computer.
I think one of the top 10 things that go wrong in the relationships was just violated. There.
Yeah, quite possible. But yes, it is. You'll see it later on. But anyway, there you go.
Somebody did ask whether we had been drinking one week when we were having so much.
Yeah, we
fun.
are. This is what we drink. We love a bottle of champagne, but we are. Hold on a minute. We are alcohol free, and so we drink this drink called. I love it. It's called Naughty. Okay. And it's a sparkling Chardonnay, and the important thing is it's alcohol free. But we have been champagne fans for years. Yeah. We've been to Champagne We love it there. We used to bring bottles of it back because it's half price or better.
You mean
and
bootfuls?
yeah, and anyway, when we gave up alcohol, came across these guys, Thomas and Scott, and it's made with Chardonnay. My favourite champagne has always got Chardonnay in it. So look, we're being naughty, but we're being alcohol
Just cut
free.
and pasted.
Love it, love it. So number one is, go for it,
not being truthful to each other. Now, what we'd like you to do is, we know, having been, coaching lots of couples, and
I mean, everybody's going to own up to that.
We know, well, we know that in our old relationships, that actually we have not been truthful. And remember, there's lots of connotations to that, isn't there, Tone?
There is.
It's like, I remember you telling your story. Maybe you need part of your story. Did you notice I said part of your story?
Yeah, not the whole thing. I ain't got
Which
time.
is why that's knowing your husband. That is knowing the story that's going to come out, and already pre-framing by asking for half of it.
Look, would any of this be derogatory to my former family, because they don't like it when I do things like that?
They don't need to listen in, do they?
No, that's true.
No,
and,
but actually, if you only told part of the story,
I need to make it my fault. That's the only thing.
Make it your fault.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking of part of your story was that actually your mom, bless her heart,
yes.
Was, struggling when she was young. Shall I just tell the story? I might do it better than you in terms of your.
I think you're violating number 8, love.
I'm just criticised. Right. But no, let me just give you the tiny version then. So just so that can help you think about it and decide whether you want to share something from your past or from your relationship right now. So Tony had, his mom, bless her heart, was struggling, and therefore he was only a very little boy, and she asked him a question and he didn't tell the truth. And when he told the truth, you're going to have to tell the story.
Look, I just didn't own up. I did something. She asked the question, who's done that? I didn't own up. So yes, you could say I stayed stum.
Now that is so lovely, because that's sort of a different way of saying not telling the truth. No, and I'm being serious now, and I'm not saying about you.
Okay,
I'm just saying I'll stay stum. I mean that if sometimes not telling the truth can actually be keeping quiet, can't it?
It could be.
Sometimes I look at my relationships, because what Tony did basically was, by not speaking out loud or not telling the truth, or not speaking his truth, he started to do that in lots of relationships. So he kept
it became a habit because
Maybe.
I had a bit of an FCE. Now FCE is a significant emotional event from this situation, so I probably am trying to justify why, but it's interesting to understand sometimes why we withhold the truth, or maybe even tell barefaced lies. And that is because there is a fear of telling the truth, of the consequences.
Of course.
So we think that telling the truth is going to make things worse, or withholding the truth, as I did, is going to make things worse. So it's a fear. So it's very low energy, as we call it. And whenever there's anything like that, wherever there's an action, there's a consequence. And the consequence, I actually said it to someone. I was coaching somebody today, and I told them that little story, and basically what happened in the end. And I'm trying to be, put myself in a place of right, as I'm noticing now I'm doing it, because look, the thing is, I did break something, and my mum asked who broke it, and I stayed quiet. And then she changed her tactic and said, I'm not going to tell anybody off, I just want to know who did it. And then I got told off. So it's like, when I did tell the truth, it cost me. So that little SEE led me to run a pattern, possibly unconsciously, for years and years and years, that basically said, right, if I tell the truth, there's pain attached to it. So I'll either lie, and I did lie to my mum a lot because I never trusted her. Because when
what about
I told
in your
the
intimate
truth,
relationships as well?
Well, yeah, because you run a pattern. If it's an SCE. So actually, it's really interesting to look back when you told, a little white lie, even, it's got consequences to it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Mostly we do it for the fear. So I know that I lied in the future because of the fear of the consequences, because as a little child, I got hit. So there was a physical remembrance, should we say. Now, did I do that consciously? Probably sometimes. Did I do it unconsciously? Probably quite a lot, yeah? So I think, it's a really great question to yourself, because where there is not truth,
that's
there
right.
are
Yeah, and
difficult
what I was
situations.
wanting to say was either you might be relating to something that Tony said, which was like, I used to get into trouble. Lots of people that we coach will go, I used to get into trouble as a child if I, owned up to something. So I started not to own up to things, which could be in your relationship now or in previous relationships, or it could be something completely different. So do pop in the comment if you've got another version of that, because let me give you my version. My version was not that. It was not the same as that. I did not have that same experience as I was growing up, but I noticed that when I went into intimate relationships where I wasn't loving the way that we were with each other, I was doing something which seemingly isn't a bad thing, but actually it was a bad thing long term, which was not speaking my truth in any way about how I was feeling. So I would sort of like go along. I'd be like trying to keep the peace. I felt like I was on eggshells.
Eggshells.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was on eggshells, and I felt like if I spoke my truth, that there would be consequences. And I'll be honest, there was a little bit. My family will be, my exes will be coming back at me if I'm not careful. And there was a little part of me which was a little bit scared to say that I was not happy about something. So in that way, what we're saying is I do believe that this can be so, we've got it as number one at the moment. We've got to try, that's what we're doing tonight. We want to get your feeling about what would be the number one thing that you think.
Anyway.
So if you think that was the number one thing that affected your relationship in the past, please let us know.
Well, currently, you may be withholding some truth because fear of the consequences, stuff like that. So, yeah, if we probably go into that much detail on each one, we're going to run out of time.
Yeah, no,
but anyway, maybe we'll do half this week and half next week. That'll all be good too.
Good idea.
So, right, number 2. Please do go. If you feel like, and I know
we know this is private often, so we understand if you don't, but we could do with just at least going. Well, I think that was really important for me, and maybe that's why talk about it at past relationships is probably easier.
I know that when we have got couples that are really, really struggling, we do a thing called the truth session. And the truth, we even made a film. We got near to making a TV show called The Truth. And we made like a little pilot, and we took this woman into what we called it the truth cell. In fact, did I do the woman first? You did the woman first? Yeah, you did the woman first, yeah? So it was a relationship that wasn't working well. And Nicki took the lady into what we called the truth cell, where she was bound to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth type stuff, yeah? And I remember walking up and down. I think she did go first, actually. And I remember walking up and down outside with the guy. He was like, it was like he was going to have a baby, when you pace around, he was like that. He was so nervous and what have you. Anyway, then I took him in and a whole load of truth came out. It was very amazing. And they were filmed and, made into a pilot. But, the thing is about it, the saying that we always had is the truth, will set you free. It's a good old fashioned saying. And there's a huge element of truth in that saying, because I promise you, once we've had truth out, even if the consequences of that truth have been very heavy, there's a sort of like a letting go that happens. Almost always when you tell truth from a place of non-fear, in other words, you're not going to, like I did, get slapped, then what happens is you feel lighter, you feel there's a bit of a release goes on, yeah? And look, the consequences, especially when you're doing relationship coaching, so if you do ever get in a session with us, you're then in a safe place. So we're explaining how you're in a safe place to share any truth, because whatever happens, we are going to talk about it. So as coaches, it's a beautiful thing to do, to get people's truth out. They don't kill each other. And when they go into truth, it's not about the other person, it's always about yourself. Magic and miracles always happen. So, yes. Question number.
So what I've said here on both of the streams on Facebook and YouTube, I'm assuming it's coming out on as well, is I've said, look, what was your number one issue in past or present relationships? And I understand this is sensitive. So just a sense might be helpful to others and to help us get the sort of right order and sequence, because we're going out with this to the whole world. But I just noticed that it's easier for you and I to talk about what we've been like in other relationships than it possibly would be to talk about what we do now. I mean, we're going to be open and honest about it because that's what we do. But I think that, sometimes it's better to look back. But you might notice that the thing that might be too sensitive to talk about right now in your present relationship, you might feel more comfortable about going, yeah, well, actually, I think that's happening for me at this relationship, but also this happened for me in the past.
Yeah.
Izzy gay?
Hey,
it's Izzy and the most
amazing
Harry
dancing.
Jackson.
It's the dancing queen. It's the dancing queen. I
And
watched your
Izzy,
dancing the other night. I'm going, oh, watched you practicing.
But also,
wow, really good. We never did do that 10-10 dance or the 10-10 song. We got near. We'll get there. We will get there.
Beautiful pictures of Izzy and Harry. What a beautiful couple.
Yes.
Anyway, and James Dewan. Hello,
hey,
James Dewan. What a man.
Yes. Right. Okay. So number two. Number two is
and it is emotional and physical infidelity.
Okay, we picked two tough ones that people aren't exactly going to want to show. Oh yeah, I do. I'm doing that right now.
But think about it, even if you can't talk about it.
Anyway, look, we're writing this report called the top 10 things that go wrong in intimate relationships. Yeah.
You want your help.
So the number two is number one is not being truthful with each other. Number two is emotional and physical infidelity. Now,
we're trying to keep it.
We're keeping it light. We're keeping it light. We're keeping it light. But
impossible.
Look, yeah, it is tough. But look, think about it. Have you ever had an emotional?
David Vincent's in the house.
Oh, come on, David. Hello. Anyway, look. Is it possible that you've been with somebody else? Because look, it's easy to see when they're doing it. You know, where they might have had some emotional attachment to someone else. We actually helped. Well, we coached a couple last year where there was an emotional infidelity, and it was very interesting, really, because the power of emotional infidelity. So nothing physical had happened, but you know, it's like chat lines. Look, let me own it. In my 27th relationship now.
I was wondering what you were going to say then.
I always use 27. I started to count. I don't know how many it is.
No, but when you said, let me be honest, and we're talking about emotional and physical
infidelity,
I thought you were going to.
Well,
I thought you were going to go live on air and tell me that you've been chatting to some woman or something.
No, but look, I went back to the past. My wife said, go back to the past. Let's talk about now. So look, I'm all good now. I'm over it all. But look, I had to get to 47 years old. But look, yes, I remember doing both of these things. So I'm absolutely happy to put my hand up and go, I did both of these things and neither of them are good. Okay. And from the emotionality one, it was in the early days of the internet. I used to be not happy in my relationship. So I'd literally go on, and in those days there was I don't think they exist so much nowadays, but anyway, there's like chat rooms on AOL. I remember AOL. Do you remember AOL? Yeah. Anyway, I was on there and I used to chat to this woman.
You don't think that they exist now? I bet they do.
I bet they do. Yeah. But anyway, I used to chat to this woman and got very emotionally attached to her. I never met her or anything. Whilst I'm still in a relationship. So I think if you've ever had a conversation or workplace is a very, very common thing where this happens, like the Christmas party, everybody has a drink and sometimes it goes into physical
the fact that you haven't worked in corporate like I have, obviously you're talking about the Christmas party, but I know you've always said that you got very close to the people that you worked with in your shops. Too close. But I can remember being in corporate. Too close. Let's not go there. Let's not go there, Tony V. Yeah. But I remember in corporate, people would have a real special friend at work who was like the person that they spent a lot of time with. They'd go to lunch with. Often you'd notice that people spent more time with this person that they worked with than they would. That's why the workplace is a sort of danger zone in many ways. Judy Barker's come up with a great one. Oh, come on. As always. Number one issue from her past was using physical intimacy to keep a man. Oh wow, yeah, that is very common. Thank you, Julie. Yes, obviously, she's a relationship coach, so she's open to share her own stories, which is fabulous. No, and look, intimacy does get used to keep you in a relationship, but and of course, it's not good because it won't work. It won't work long term. It can work in the short term, won't work in the long term. But I don't think, for me, that's not quite the same thing as our 10 mistakes. What was not 10 mistakes? Things that go wrong. 10 things that go wrong. It's not a good one though, so thanks for that. We'll pop it on the list. I think when we talk about the actual, we're using the word infidelity, and we're saying emotional and physical. Really, what we're saying, what the sort of underlying issue that goes on for people is that they're not getting their needs met. When we spoke on one of the lives, we spoke about the individual needs of the man or the woman, or the needs of the man because he's a man and the needs of a woman because it's a woman. If you're not getting your needs met, when we work with couples, we ask them, you know, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being you don't really feel your needs as a woman are being met in this relationship, or your needs as a man, and 10 is you feel like this person is just, you know, wonderful, and you feel that need being met. I believe that most emotional and physical intimacy happens, yes, because of proximity, but even with proximity at work or in, you know, socially or whatever, even with that being happening, it will only happen if your needs are not being met in your present relationship.
And also the person you're having the infidelity with is meeting your needs better than your other
That's
relationship. That's the problem, isn't it? So anyway, that's our number 2. I think we're pretty, you know, actually we have tried is not a great word. We have searched endlessly in over 20 years to find some accurate statistics about physical infidelity in the Western world, and we've never really found, there's no study done, should we say, as far as we found. To be fair, I haven't looked more recently, but we did find this lady who did this study, but it wasn't sort of an official study. So, but her results were crazy, yeah, in as much that she said that infidelity happens in as much as 80% of intimate relationships. So that was big. She did write a whole thing about it and what have you, and we've used that number in the past. So that's a bit scary, isn't it, to think that people are getting their needs met outside of their current relationship because somebody else meets their needs better than their partner.
Yeah, so as Tony said, we're going to whiz through the 10 today. So really what we'd like you to do, if you possibly would, is you don't have to tell us loads and loads of things.
You can always DM us.
Just
it's all private
and confidential. Thank you very much. Well done. But also just to say, yes, in my previous relationships, I've had either issues with, number 1, not being truthful to each other, 2, emotional, physical infidelity, or good. Number 3.
Number three
and that is operating as individuals. Off you go, Tony.
Right, yeah. So this one we find is unbelievably common, which is that when you first get into a relationship, you know, we're all very hunky-dory, very close, lots of intimacy, everything feels fine. And then over time, I mean, in some worlds, some books, they call it the honeymoon period, where we stay very close. And then over time, things start to happen. It's almost like we pretend in some ways to be a person we're really not, you know. So for example, you know, I mean, look, untidiness would be a big one, yeah, which is crazy that it could be. So in other words, you've been brought up in 2 different houses. Let's say your house was very tidy and your partner's house was very untidy. So look, to start with, you sort of let that go because your focus and attention is on each other and often on a lot of intimacy and, you know, doing things that are fun. Now, when that starts to slow down and we start to live together, then the tidy person tends to notice the untidy person is getting on the nerves, yeah. So we always say it's the little things that start to, you know, have a bit of a crack in a relationship. Now, these little things start to add up. So untidiness might not be one, but the time there's like 3, 4, 5, 6 things that they're doing, what happens is you know, you both start operating differently. So instead of acting as a couple, you know, as one unit, we start to split up. And one party operates one way and the other party operates another way. So we call that operating as individuals. So again, just think back in the past, has that happened to you? Where you've ended up running your own life, you've got your friends, you've got your job, you've got your money, you've almost got like your side of the bed, you've got your things in the cupboard that you eat. There could be a multitude of different things and they've got theirs. So it's almost like, it starts to be a bit, sometimes I call it brother-sistery. Intimacy definitely starts to go in this situation because when you're not happy with each other, when you're looking and focusing on things that are not good, then of course you sort of lose connection and with the other person. So it's a really important thing to keep good. But this report is all about the things that you know, go wrong in a relationship. And I think this suddenly going back to being 2 individuals instead of operating as a couple is a huge thing. So I don't know if that's happened to you in the past. Feel free to drop us a note if it has, or if it's indeed happening now and you want some help. That's what we did.
So, yeah, do you know, it's interesting because obviously we've done a lot on these and we've done a lot in our coaching business with people that have really struggled with this with COVID, because they used to have completely operating in separate lives, different jobs, different hobbies, doing things. You know, people were saying things like, well, I'd be out with the kids and he'd be doing sport and blah, 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 or whatever. And all of a sudden, COVID's thrown them together and they've been operating as individuals. Now they've got no connection. Izzy, thank you. Izzy, this is really helpful, Izzy. Thank you very much. This is what we want.
Well, they were split up for COVID. I know it was a bit difficult.
Definitely. But Izzy's saying in a past relationship, she's sharing about number 1 and number 2. And I said, well, Izzy, which do you think had the worst impact? Here's what's really interesting, what Izzy's saying. She said, I would say 1 had the biggest impact, not telling the truth, and then affected and created, maybe that's a word I'm putting in, that's not what Izzy said, number 2. In other words, when you're not telling each other the truth, and remember, that isn't just lie, it's not about lying of what you've been doing or anything. It can be that, but the other thing is you're not sharing when things are not good for you or what you want in the relationship. Therefore, one of you or both of you might go and what we call look outside of the relationship.
So what's great about that, Izzy, and thank you for sharing, is that you can see how 1 and 2 are pretty big things, aren't they? So those 2 alone, it's almost like the domino effect. You know, not Domino's the pizzas, you know, Domino's. We've been eating too many Domino's. But you know, Domino's the game.
I've hardly only had one.
Well, it was a bit of a rush week this week, and it's not healthy. And I'd said last night I have to give that Domino's a share.
We're now back on the keto.
Healthy, so we're back on. I've got a keto machine now to get me back in the driving seat. Anyway, so yeah, the Domino's. You know, people do these Domino's things. In fact, I think Sky actually have a on Sky Atlantic, they use dominoes as a sort of one of those things where they knock one domino down and all the others fall down. Well, that is the point, you know, that actually when number 1 falls over, it often tips some of the others. So I think when your relationship's not going good, it may well be, you know, if it's all going good, you might have none of these 10 things happening. Whereas if it's got to a really low ebb, you could find like 6, 7, 8, 9, even all 10 not functioning well. So
are you ready for number 4?
Let's go.
There we go. Getting frustrated with each other.
Yeah. So, look, the word frustrated is interesting because it's like a derivative of anger. So, you know, if there's any anger's a bit heavier than frustration. Frustrating is where you sort of like run a bit of a pattern of tutting or judging or whatever. Anger starts to now get either very inward, where you start to withdraw, or it gets very external and things start to get thrown around. We've seen holes in walls and people punch doors and all sorts of shit, yeah? And that is like heavy level of frustration. Now, by the time you get here, obviously the domino effect. Now, it may be, as Izzy pointed out, and thank you for that, that basically maybe a bit of infidelity's happened, or maybe there's some truth not being spoken, or maybe we've started to operate as individuals. So you can see how a level of frustration will come when you're not happy and things aren't ticking over nicely. So yeah. Now,
the amazing, the incredible Colleen Farrington, who is James Stevenson. An amazing couple.
Come on. And the dancing family, we love you. We love your videos.
The dancing and singing family.
Yes. And the musicals.
Absolutely amazing. So Colleen, hi, honey. Hey, darling, and so good to hear from you. And she said, it's funny you should mention this. I can't remember what, because I was typing, so I don't know what you were mentioning, but it was about operating as individuals.
Yeah.
She said, James Stevenson, she's got his full name here.
Is it in capitals? Is there a little bit of frustration there?
But what's funny is she's actually tagged him.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
What I love about it, Jim will love that, right? Used to leave his pants on the bedroom floor.
There you go.
Oh, I love it.
That is one of my favourites. I didn't say it, but it's always the men.
Colleen, thank you for being here.
Bringing a bit of humour to it.
Used to drive me insane, but we spoke about it. I love the way women go.
Truth came out.
I love the way women go.
I hate that.
Spoke about it. And where the behaviour came from. Colleen, that's obviously Colleen's a coach, so she knows all about this.
Fantastic.
So what Colleen's saying, which is so really worth talking about here, is
but she's shared some truth.
Instead of, I mean, she's saying, I love her because she's saying he drove me insane. But if you think about it, if your partner or your partner was in the past driving you insane, there's 2 things that you can do immediately. One is to be an understanding. We're working with a couple at the moment where we're really just teaching them to understand each other, because otherwise you just keep going back to the original thing, which is if you'd stop doing that, everything would be all right. Or if you were more like me, everything would be all right.
You put your pants in. Well, we always laugh about the dishwasher.
The
in fact,
dishwasher.
do you put the knives up right or downwards? And obviously.
There was a thing on TikTok today with where people use they do a voiceover. So there was Michael McIntyre's voice telling a story about the dishwasher,
and they're in front of the dishwasher.
Woman is mouthing it, and she's going, "Why would you just, basically, why would you just?" I can't do.
Yeah, he goes, "Why would you leave the dishes on the top of the dishwasher when actually they need to go in the dishwasher? You might as well put them in the garden. They're useless on top. All you've got to do is open the door and put them in." Which
is so funny, because that's exactly what happens in our house, except it's the other way around. It's not the man being told off for. Did you hear that? The man being told off for not
violating
putting it in the dishwasher. It's the woman. So I'm going, I'll put it away later. Now, so what we're doing here is just giving you a quick example of things that drive you insane.
There was one, this is quite funny. There was one relationship video made by a bunch of actors once, actually. They were sort of amateur actors, and they made this fantastic video. They were out, there was this couple, they were sitting at the kitchen table, and she was telling him all the things he did that she didn't like, and so he said, well, look, why don't you write down everything I do that you don't like? So she got up, she said, I have.
I've written
and
it
then
down.
She said, I have written it down. Well, she came back with this pile of papers, and there must have been 500 or more bits of paper, and she chucked it all on the table. There you go. I've written it all down. He said, wow, that seems a lot. She said, that's nothing. That is just the index. Anyway, it was just so funny because look, it's so true.
It was
so
true. But let me just go a bit further here, because Colleen, this is really, really helpful. She said, used to drive me insane, but we spoke about it. Right,
lovingly,
right,
of course,
and where the behavior came from. And sometimes it's literally just, maybe this is one of the things that goes wrong, which we were talking about today, Tone, which is just, you've been brought up one way. I mean, let me just be honest.
I said it about the clean house.
And my mom and I, because my mom, like Nick's mum, me, and Nick's grandma, we all lived in the same house. And my mom and me used to just clean up after Nick, and he never put anything in the dishwasher. He never put anything in the laundry basket.
I can tell you now, he still doesn't, because at work he puts his lunch in the sink and just leaves it there.
Well, that's because that's my fault.
Right, so we got to cut him some slack.
I'm just not, I know I'm biased about my son. I think the sun shines out of every orifice, but what he does do is, because he appreciates that he was brought up to just leave things around, he is fabulous husband at home.
Yes.
He puts things away.
Is it going in the dishwasher?
If
it's going in the dishwasher, I'll eat my hat.
She's probably going to tell me that I'm delusional. But anyway, it's a good example.
I don't think he leaves his pants anymore. I think we've had that one too.
So Jim, Nick will be going mad if you didn't talk about his pants. Right, Jim Stevenson was leaving his pants on the floor, and now he's not.
Now he's all over internet.
It's all over the internet. Right.
Thank you for helping womankind,
drunk,
Jim, by sorting it out.
Oh dear, I'm having fun tonight.
Bless
You've got to have fun when you're talking about relationships, otherwise it's
gotta laugh.
Damn heavy.
Laughter is happiness.
But anyway, the good news, just to end this story, is now he doesn't leave his pants on the floor.
Where does he put them now?
Colleen, could you put us out of our misery?
Does he put them in the washing machine? Have we got a washing basket?
I'm going to say something unforgivable now. Maybe he goes commando and doesn't wear them. Anyway, whatever. He's going to kill me, she's saying. He's going to kill me.
Oh, bless.
So's Nick. Nick and Natty will kill us.
Yeah, but it's true. We might as well use people we know and love.
Anyway,
look.
So, number 4. Look,
number 4 is.
Let's go serious face.
No, it's number 5. It's number 5, love.
What?
We're on number 5.
No, we're not.
Frustrated with each other was number 4.
Was it?
It was, yeah. It says it here. I'm reading it.
Yeah, well, all right.
Come on, get your act together. All you got to do is type. He's only got a copy and paste.
What's wrong with us today? Right.
It's naughty. It's naughty. Once you get naughty inside you.
Look, I tell you what, we'll go listen to the recording. You're not talking about getting frustrated. Maybe you did, and I wasn't listening. It's one of my worst faults, not listening. Maybe that should be number 11. not listening to your husband.
Yeah.
Right. Lost attraction for each other. Number 5 things that go wrong. Number 5.
Lost attraction. Well, I'm bloody not surprised. If you've done the first 4, you are definitely going to be losing a bit of attraction. So look, when the pants are on the floor, the attraction goes down. No, it's true. It's true though, isn't it? And that seems like a little thing. You know, we lived in a house once, well, more than once in Italy, where they put a lot of people to live together. And you think about in your head, what we got. Go.
It's the one and only Eddie Morgan.
Oh, not Eddie. I bet his pants are on the floor.
Sorry, oh God. He's saying it's not just the men. Meaning he could be talking about his lovely wife.
No, I'm not going there. That's not.
No,
it's all right to laugh at the men. We can't laugh at them.
It's not just the men. No. It's the challenge. It's not your fault. Eddie Morgan is letting me off the hook. Thank you, Eddie, for not. He's saying that it's a matter for himself, as we would say with Nick. And he's just saying about somebody who not be putting pants on the floor. They leave them in the bed instead.
Oh,
now,
right.
I remember. I tell you somebody. I won't name names, but we actually coached a couple where they came to us saying, "Well, it's actually I'm on number 5 now." They'd lost attraction to each other. Yeah. And we said, why? If you weren't laughing before this, you're going to laugh now. He said, looking at her naked, she looks like a chicken. She said, I can't bear it because he leaves his socks on in bed and his pants in the bed.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
And actually,
anyway, needless to say,
to be fair,
they were probably doing were they doing any of the others? Well, they definitely weren't doing number 1. Number 2 probably weren't. They were infatuated. Operating as individuals, absolutely. Getting frustrated with each other, absolutely. Lost attraction for it. Look, it's the dominoes. It's the domino. Maybe we should call it the domino relationship effect. One thing leads to another. Yeah.
Stop talking about pants. Anyway, I think official. Jim Stevenson puts them in the basket.
Oh, come on, Jim.
Wow!
He's a reformed character. Let's text Natty and see what Nick does.
Oh.
He might
anyway, Izzy, being much more serious. Thank you, Izzy, for bringing us back to normal. She said, number 5.
Well, obviously, we've got Dirty Harry. What does he do with it?
Adam's on now.
Oh, but his pants aren't going in the basket.
Adam, just read back. Honestly, if you thought we're not, by the way, Adam, we're normally quite serious about intimate relationships. It's a very sensitive subject. But if you read back in the feed, you'll see we've been talking about pants, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Evening Beezy saying, so Izzy Gayarda, I think her name is, number 5 has happened for her in past relationships. That's lost attraction for each other. Let's get over this madness and get number 6. Oh, yes. Now this will bring the whole down to earth. In that it is, and wait for it, arguing about money.
Oh yeah, okay. So look, honestly, I can tell you now from all the coaching we've done, 18 years worth of couples coaching, money is a big problem. Obviously, if you think pants are a problem, then money is often, oh my God, it's like at the root of so many things. Actually, it's interesting that they do. There is a saying that says money is the root of all evil, which is very strong, isn't it? And look, people will have different beliefs about money, as we have proven many, many times. In fact, you could do this with your partner. It's a great question to just do together. We normally ask.
Well, you can do it on your own if you're on your own as well.
Yeah, we normally ask 4 questions, but we just ask the 2. So you're not allowed to ask a question about the 2 questions. You just have to answer the questions. Yeah. But anyway, look, but look, people do. They immediately ask questions about the question. So you're not allowed to ask a question about the question. But let me just ask you the 2 questions, and do this with your partner. Do it separate. Cover it up so they can't see your answer like you did at school. And so the first question is, what is a small amount of money to you? What is a small amount of money to you? And just write down an amount of money. And then the second question is, what's a large amount of money to you? And write down an amount of money. So you've ended up with 2 amounts of money, small and large. Yeah. And then compare notes. Now, if these are close, if they're close, then obviously you're going to have less challenges. The bigger the gap, the more challenges you're going to have. Because just like we were talking about the pants, it's like Just different upbringings. That's all it is. It's just in this house when you were a child, this was okay, and in the other house that was not okay. So just think about money. Whatever happened in money in your house, that will be your model of money, and whatever happened in the other person's house, that will tend to be their model of money. Now, these two models of money could end up clashing. They could end up clashing. So we know that this is like a real tinderbox of challenge, how you have come to handle the money. Now, as an example, we coached one couple once where they come up with a deal. Normally, there's either a deal which is spoken or a deal that is unspoken. So you'd have to go, yeah, we do our money this way, but we've actually never talked about it. Or we do our money this way because we've talked about it and decided that is how we're going to do it. So it's either spoken or unspoken. This couple had an unspoken set of rules. In other words, they did things their way. And the way they did it was to, she had her money because she had a job, and he had his money because he had a job. So this was their thinking. He had his bank account, she had her bank account. So what they did is they split everything in half. And because she paid the rent and the rates, he paid for everything else. Something along those lines, yeah? So anyway, one day, the story goes that the landlord, because they were renting, the landlord rung up because there was a bit of a problem with they had a problem with the roof. There was a bit of a leak. And so they rang the landlord, and then the landlord rung back. So he has answered the phone, found out it's the landlord, and because he doesn't deal with that aspect of the money, in other words, he doesn't pay for the rent, he handed the phone to her. He goes, yeah, it's the landlord. You know, it's about the roof. Now, can you believe that this situation caused so much trouble in their life? But they didn't realize they were doing it. They were completely unaware that the way they got the money handled was not working at all, not working for her, not working for him. So actually we helped them see how we could organize the money differently. And I can't tell you, she sighed a sigh of relief when we got it sorted out. And he just stepped up. He was like amazing. He's going, okay, I never realized this was causing us trouble. I will sort this out. Yeah. And he did the man thing, and he stepped up and took control of the whole money situation. And she was just able to relax because she's all stressed out of her brain because she's worried about the landlord who was being very aggressive to her. Yeah. Saying that it was their fault that they got the leak and all that, you know. So it wasn't good. Some nasty and angry landlord shouting at her, and the only reason he's shouting at her because she pays the rent. Anyway, they got it sorted out. It was a very amazing bit of coaching and realization. So as an example, you know, how do you handle your money? What's the rules around money? Look, if it's working, you don't have to worry about it. But look, again, go back to number one. What's the truth? You know, how do you feel about the money and how it all works in your world? A lovely truth discussion, no blame. Just find a system that does work if indeed it's not working. So where are we, darling?
Where are we? Well, first of all, Sophie. Hi, Sophie. Sophie B.
Sophie B. Hello, darling.
I am literally crying.
She's had her hair done
laughing.
this week. She's had it done.
Yes. Sophie's going, but you can tell that Nicky's not happy with it because, like, it's not doing what I want it to do.
Okay.
Sophie would know that. I'm literally crying laughing. She says, she looks like a chicken. I mean, how the hell do you coach that? So I'm just giving her a bit of what we're doing with coaching. Where are we now? And
it was very interesting actually with that couple because they were both very OCD. OCD meaning what do we call it? Obsessive
compulsive disorder.
So they both had a bit of that going on. And actually what was really funny about the chicken thing was that she was on a bit of a diet. She was on a bit of a diet, but because she was OCD, she was taking things over seriously. Yeah. In fact, we've had a few people to take what
dieting
they eat
to a whole new level of
like
OCD-ness
and cost them massively.
We don't have that problem.
I remember no, we got the opposite. So
talking about the domino effect.
Yeah, we've got the domino effect at the moment. So yeah, but anyway, what she was doing was very interesting because we used to drink this health drink which was very green, yeah, and I told her to drink 2 liters a day, And then actually it was really good. I'd love to do the green thing again in some ways. Yeah, it's about alkalizing your blood and all of that. It was absolutely brilliant. Anyway, we did it for years, and then the people went bust and we stopped doing it. Anyway, so yeah, so instead of drinking 2 litres, now she was already quite little, she started drinking 4 litres and not eating anything else. So she was like living on, and I'm going, that's not good. And he's going, look, she's going in the shower for like half an hour and all her hair's falling out and stuff like that. I thought that's a bit of a sign. And she was already quite small, but she was getting smaller and smaller. And that's when he said, she had her clothes up, she looked like a chicken. And we just sadly laughed at that, you know.
Okay, moving anyway, swiftly on.
Yeah.
Right, just in case anybody's watching who knows that person.
Yeah.
Right, living in a negative way. Do you remember when we talked about this, which was about like a negative vibe in the house, having lots of negative thoughts, worry, doubt, judgment. Sorry, where did I get judgment from? There you go.
Well, but
worry, doubt, judgment, frustration, anxiety, depression, anger.
Yeah, all of those things. So if, you know, when you walk into your home, you're sharing this with your partner. If you, well, I do a bit, we ain't got time to do this, but I have done a sort of walk around the house with thousands and thousands of people where we sort of do a bit of a closed eye process, walk around the house, go back outside. And then I sort of say, but I can do it without walking around the house. So look, if you went and stood over the road to your house, your flat, your apartment, wherever you live, your bungalow, I don't know where you live, but basically stand over the road and look at your house. If you had to put 3 words on that house that describe the energy in that house, what 3 words would you put? Now, this is a phenomenal exercise. Now, when I've done this with people seemingly that have never done any personal or spiritual development on themselves in any way, shape, or form, they're very unaware that the energy in which of the house, the environment that they've created, that they live in, has such a powerful effect on the people who live in that house. So obviously, if you're a couple, it's having the effect on you. So the effect of that energy is amazing. So look, it's a good little thing to go, yeah, if I had to have 3 words that describe the energy in my house, what would they be? Now, if they are 3 positive words, you're doing great, yeah? If they are, I've got any negative words in there, then it is definitely something to think about, because what's interesting, it will be part of your pattern to live that way, where that negativity, and it's almost definite that you would have brought that negativity from your childhood, almost definitely. In other words, it's sort of laying latent inside of you, and you're walking around with that energy, and then you bring it to your joint new house. So it's good to be aware of that if you notice that. But I promise you that if this is going on, if that house has got lots of negative energy in it, then it will put a massive strain on your intimate relationship. It's just impossible almost for it not to. So it's good to check it out and then go, yeah, actually, I mean, you could always give it a score. You know, we love a bit of 0 to 10. So on a scale of 0 to 10, when you think of the energy in your house, 10 will be, it's very nice, it's very pristine. You go in it and you love it. It feels amazing. And 0 is, oh my God, I hate going in that house. It's just horrible energy in there. What number would you give it? And then you go, right, okay, well, if it's a 10, fine, nothing to do. If it's a 9, nothing, yeah, it's not a big deal, is it? It's an 8, yeah, a couple of little things you might be wanting to spruce up. If you start to go 7 or less, then you start to think about, right, how could we together create a better energy in this house? And I can't tell you, a couple we're working with now, they've had a little tidy up. Actually, before they got having time with us, they decided to do this. And they said that it felt a bit lighter and a bit calmer once they'd done it. So it was, I'm an absolute fan of this one. So yeah, what's the number for your house? What energies are in there? What words would you put on it? And what could you do to eradicate that?
And often the number that you've got for your house will often be a great reflection of what's going on in here. So if the negative is in here, if you're a worrier, if you're anxious or angry or whatever you will find it very difficult to concentrate on having great energy in your house. Anyway, number 8, little drum roll, treating each other with contempt.
Yeah, so
the whole Gottman thing.
Yeah, so there's a guy called Gottman, lives in Seattle, I believe, with his wife. And he is a professor.
So fascinating.
He is amazing. He's a professor and he's wrote quite a few books, but he has a thing in Seattle called the Love Lab. And this is where Tony Robbins has got a lot of his intimate relationship information from. So we found Gottman, you know, and actually it's really, really interesting. But in the book, The Blink, if you've never read The Blink, great books. Just type into Amazon, The Blink, buy the book, yeah? Now, the guy that wrote the Blink is called Gladwell, is he a Gladwell? Yeah, Gladwell. He studied a bit of Gottman stuff as well. And in his book, he shares some of Gottman's results, which is where we got the results from rather than studying it with Gottman. But Gottman actually gets people to tell the truth. So he has all this, he wires you up like, you know, he's a scientist. So he's like,
well, he doesn't tell people tell the truth. He actually has people watch videos.
Yes.
Of I mean, I do agree with you.
He does truth sessions,
but he asks them to talk to each other. You're right, and does truth sessions. You're absolutely right.
And he can tell by your language to each other. He reckons that within 15 minutes he can predict whether, if you don't do something about it, you will be together long term. So that's very amazing. Now, the Blink guy did some studies on the Gottman stuff, and he decided, Gottman came up with four things that you say or do that are likely to be going to break. He came up with 10 to start with, then he cut it down to 4, and then he realized with all these studies that he did that actually there is one thing that breaks up relationships more than anything else, and that thing is treating each other with contempt. Now,
so let me just explain a little bit about the 4, because it's really, really interesting. So the 1 is anger, and everybody can like understand that's either internal or external anger. That's either anger actually at somebody else or at the, you know, house, you know,
just an angry energy in your body,
you know, hand, you know, I don't know, banging around or whatever, right? Or it's being angry inside and seething and go and which leads us to the second one. So that these are bad enough for a relationship, which leads to the second one, which is often people do not speaking, stonewalling as they call it in the States. This is the second one that he says is very, very bad. So if you don't speak to each other, if you move away in a kind of aggressive way, you know, like passive aggressive, you move away, that's not good at all. The third one is being critical. So criticism, that's criticizing your partner for something that they do. So you might go, well, isn't that contempt? Well, no, it isn't, because criticism is just literally, oh, you know, you've made a, you know, you've left your pants on the floor. If you say you've left your pants on the floor, you're criticizing that person for something they're doing or something they're saying. Contempt is you've left your pants on the floor. I would never do that. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be stated. I'm saying that very openly because it can be just tonality, because it might not be you've left your pants on the floor. I would never do that. It's like, you leave your pants on the floor, meaning
you're less than.
Like you are less than. And Gottman says that out of all the years he studied relationships, out of all the things, and he started off actually with like 20 things, and he got people off the street, he got psychologists, he got everybody to sort of listen to these people and go, yeah, that looks like anger, that looks like criticism, that looks like, you know, not speaking, that looks like all this. And then they found that this number one thing is the biggest thing that.
So it's his being superior is a good way to, alternative word, I think, to contempt. I don't know whether you agree with that. It's my interpretation. It's taking the higher ground, making the other person less than, and that will create the crack in your relationship to grow and grow and grow. Unless you catch yourself doing that, you'll go into, you know, it's going to end. You know, he is absolutely 100% certain if either of you, or it is present, both of you are doing it, if it's present in your relationship, you will not stay together for the long term. I'm not sure he gives a time frame. He just says, I can tell if within 15 minutes of you speaking to each other and me having all my electrodes all over you, I can tell whether you're going to stay together. That's the number one thing that he can tell. Yeah. From listening to the language. Yeah.
So now obviously this is it's a very heavy subject, because obviously you may not know that you do it. I think that hopefully just by hearing us talk about it, that you might notice.
Well, you might catch yourself.
You might hear yourself going, you know, really saying something to the person which previously, you know, was not great, and the other person probably went defensive or justifying, right? And it gets into an argument, and it's all about you do this, and then the other person goes, but you do this. So I could say you leave your pants on the floor, which he doesn't, obviously, because it's perfect. No, I'm joking. But Tony does certain things. I'll try and think of something like a good one.
Obviously, if you've got the index.
Yeah, I've got it's the index. Yeah, and if he said to me, and I might come back with, well, yeah, but you do that. And I think that the good thing about knowing this is that we find that it will cut. If you know, talk about, you always teach what you have to learn. By teaching intimate relationships and coaching people day in, day out on this, what we find is it makes it really hard for us to do these kind of things because we understand it. So number 9, we've only got 5 minutes. Past relationships getting in the way.
Oh well, hey.
This
Tony, is common in today's world, of course, because like pre-19, well, I'm talking the UK here, but pre-1996, I think something like, I can't remember the exact date. The laws of around divorce changed radically, where they made it easier to get a divorce. So a lot of couples actually would stay together because getting a divorce was really hard work. In fact, yeah, it took time, energy, and what have you. So people just stayed together. It was easier. But in 19, whatever it was, they changed the law, and suddenly it was much easier to get what became known as a quickie divorce. Yeah, there were certain things that if they were present and you could prove it, boom, you could get a divorce really, really fast. Now, if you own lots of things and you've got lots of money, then there's generally a lot of arguing goes on there. So that prolongs the process. But the actual getting the divorce is almost like, boom, it's just an agreement, because actually divorces have got normally 3 bits to them. Yeah. Now, what's interesting is the children are they're one of the parts of the divorce. If you've got children, they want to know, they being the authorities, want to know that those children are being looked after properly. So because the divorce rate is so high, and when I say high, there's roughly 3,000 divorces a week in the UK. So that's 3,000 people getting divorced each week that are likely to get into another relationship. Now, one of the biggest challenges with relationships is that people go into a new relationship not thinking that the other person was the problem, and not realizing that they're part of the problem at the minimum, and they take all their bad energy, bad habits, all of that sort of stuff into their new relationship. Now, the problem with the new relationship, this is in the posh word for this is that you live in a blended family, because now you got your old partner and kids with them, they've got their old partner and kids with them, and then you come together and you've got to sort all that out. So past relationships, I mean, I can't tell you how many times the old relationship gets in the way of the new relationship. Now, there is one couple that we coached who I believe have done this absolutely beautifully. I mean, it took a fair bit of coaching, but they are coaches, to be fair, so they were prepared to own their side of it, which is often the challenge. People don't like being wrong, whereas if you're a great coach, you will help people see what they're doing that's not working. They then own it, and then everything can calm down and have a better outcome. Yeah. But when people don't go to coaching, or they don't, counselling in my world, I'm going to knock counselling now, doesn't do this. It doesn't do this well. I hear so many people come out of counselling, and please type away if you've had a great counselling experience, but I've seen so many couples come out of counselling where there's no resolution. They still feel like they're separate, and they're fact, in many ways, there's still an argument going on, and the counselling has made it worse. Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure that some counsellors get fantastic results. And when you do coaching, it's very different, because what you're doing is you're looking at the person, getting the person to look at themselves, and that makes a massive, massive difference.
So really, really running out of time. It's really relevant what you've just said, is that so often people don't know how to cope with these things, and therefore then they just get some help by talking about it, or worse still, they go to their family and friends for advice. But actually what we've seen is a very negative impact from past relationships by somebody being still very involved in the past relationship.
There's a connection. There's still a connection. It's said there's always an umbilical cord to anybody that you've had intimacy with, which is quite interesting, isn't it? So there's some energy. There's some energy between you, and it could be very negative energy, of course, and you bring that. So we see that as one of the biggest, more modern challenges. So
yes, right. Number 10.
Yep.
You don't have a healthy sex life.
Oh, right. Okay. Sex in the bedroom. We've got 30 seconds to talk about this, but in fact, this is very much part of the domino effect. the domino effect. I mean, obviously, sexual intimacy, or sex, having a sexual pattern that is what we call very negative. It's very red. So we're doing things to each other instead of what we would call loving each other. So there's a difference between sex and intimacy in our world. And most people have never been taught how to be intimate in a beautiful, loving way. So I think that's a big failure on the education system, which is very thin on the ground when it comes to relationships anyway. So you can get into some very negative sexual behavior, which actually starts to, not work. It just doesn't work long term. Short term, you can get away with it. It's exciting. It brings highs into your life. But the problem is it's very addictive. And what you tend to do is you keep on looking for more highs, particularly the men. We always want more. We always want more. Oh, you did that to me this time. Can you do that again? How can you turn the dial up? I want more. I want more. I want more. So this leads us down a path where it can get to a point where the woman feels like, well, we definitely have women feel like they're in an abusive relationship because they're being asked to do things that actually aren't good for them. Now, also, we've had women in relationships where they're doing unbelievable things to keep their man happy sexually. But actually, it runs out in the end. And the men, if they're addicted to high degree of unusual sexuality, they tend to search for it elsewhere. That's where porn comes in, to be honest. Porn's a big challenge in the modern world because it gives so many negative connotations to sex, and it's so easily and freely available that it affects men's brains, and then they start doing that want to do that with their partner, and the partner's going, well, hold on a minute, that doesn't feel good to me. So having unhealthy sexual patterns is definitely a big problem in today's world. So part of what we teach is, if that's happening, we definitely can teach you how to be more loving, more intimate. And what's so amazing is that we call it red sex versus green intimacy. Yeah, when there's red sex going on in a relationship, I promise you, it is not going to last. I absolutely 100%. It's never going to last. So the only thing, and also the magic about green intimacy, is it cements your relationship together. It's like it pulls you together like two magnets. You can't force it apart. So yeah, I think it's a massive lack of education. That's part of what we're about.
So we have just one big question to ask you, and please, please, please help us with this. We are now just going to publish or send out to the world what we believe are the 10 things that go wrong in intimate relationships, the 10 big things,
the top things
that go wrong in relationships. Now, if you feel, you don't want to say, and you talk about your past relationships, if you don't feel like even you want to talk about your past relationships or your present relationship, just give us a number. If you look down that list, I've put them on both Facebook feeds and on YouTube. Just look down that list and just say to yourself, if you had to choose one of those things, not being truthful with each other, emotional, physical infidelity, operating as individuals, getting frustrated with each other, lost attraction for each other, arguing about money, living in a negative way, treating each other with contempt, past relationships getting in the way, and you don't have a healthy sex life, which do you believe is the number one thing that affects intimate relationships the most negatively?
Yeah.
And just give us a number, please.
Give us a number.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining in, and I really appreciate your having a bit of a laugh with the pants. That's all good. But look, I do believe we have to laugh at ourselves a little bit as well and go, yeah, these are things that actually can cause massive disconnection, and actually if we sort them out, then actually they go away and we can get more connected again. So
thank you as well for loving tonight. It's been fun, and we've covered a lot of ground at quite a not superficial level by any stretch of imagination, but we've just got over that.
And just so you know, this document's going to come out, so we're calling it a report. We'll be live on Tinternet the target date is the 1st of July. So yes. Tony Nicki B is going to be a brand new website with all sorts of help on there, and this will be on there for you to enjoy and learn from. So that's it.
If you're watching this on replay or on later on, please just give us a number
Give
We've
us
had
some
2 votes for number 1, so I think we weren't
Oh,
far
come
off
on,
with
that's
our
very,
number
very
1,
good.
actually, which
Fantastic.
is interesting.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Well, have a great time. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
This was actually Tony and Nicki B live dot number 10, hashtag
Number
10. So next week we'll be back with number 11, and there's something else to talk about on love, sex, and intimacy. So until next Saturday,
Yes,
7
thank
p.m.
you, David Vincent. Thank you, Kay Dugman. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, all the people that have commented. And if you've just been on here listening and you haven't commented, thank you.
You can always
as
DM
well.
us as well. Don't
Colleen,
worry, that's
great.
all good.
People saying great live. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks
Yep,
very much.
thank
Bye
you.
for now. Have a great
Bye.
rest of the weekend.